welcome to this episode of Ranger Touring. We're going to be going through the ultimate swag review today, starting from small biker swags and working our way up all the way to the large double swags. We're going to be going through the benefits of those swags, the weight, the cost, where you can get them, and all that sort of stuff. We're going to be showing you how fast they are to set up and all the rest. Tune in for this episode. So to start off, we're going to start setting all of the swags up. We're going to time it, and we're going to set them up to the most basic considerations with pegs in where required, and not pegging in at the base of them if it's not required. Go from there.
2, 1.
Done.
4 minutes 33.
Obviously that would have been a lot quicker if I could have been able to peg into the ground, but there's a lot of rocks around here. So, but probably around the 3 minute mark is where we would have been looking at. So Chris is going to do his one because he obviously does it all the time. Starting now. Sort of. That works all right. Cool, 3 minutes.
More if you want pegs.
So obviously you did that without the pegs in, but the swag definitely stands up fine without it.
Go.
Every time.
Something tells me it's not going to work.
I think you might be right. Ta-da, it's done.
Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
That was exhausting. All right, starting off with the first swag, we've got the biker swag. So the reason you get a biker swag, they're incredibly small. They roll up to a good size that you can whack on the back of a motorbike. Or if you really wanted to take a swag with you camping, you could probably whack it on a pack because they do fold down small enough. All right, the size of this one's 900 mils wide, and then it is approximately 2 meters in length. You can get them from pretty much any kind of camping store. This one here is just an off-brand style one, so you won't exactly want to find that one, but Austrail, Wanderer, any of those sort of places will sell this sort of swag. The weight of this one, it comes into under 5 kilograms, so it is pretty light and you really won't feel it. So the mattress thickness on this one is only 2 centimeters thick. It is a really small mattress and it actually doesn't cover the full width of the swag. It's only about that far, so only about a foot worth of mattress is actually inside. This is a single person swag. It's quite small, and realistically you could not push it to 2 at any cost. So the features for this one, it has 2 ropes that hold it on. You do need pegs to either peg it down, or like we've done on this side, we've fitted just a rock or something like that. You can tie it off a tree or something fixed. You don't need a peg in the sides, you can roll it without those, so you just need 2 places to tie it off. So from there you've got 2 areas of ventilation. The first one being the main canvas, which you can fold back and have this all open. So you can have a nice bit of breathing room to your top. And then you've got a second one here where you can unzip, and that does unzip all the way, so you technically have 2 points of entry. All right, so moving on to the pros and cons. The first pro is obviously that it packs up really small. It's the smallest of any of these by far. To be fair, that's probably the only pro. You are limited compared to these other ones by the features that it has. Moving on to the cons. The thickness of the mattress is pretty dismal. So only with that 2 centimeters of thickness, you will feel rocks and stuff through your back. But again, it's only meant to be a small one. it's probably better if you can find some soft grass to lay down on. Ventilation. Okay, this is good and bad. This top area is good for ventilation because obviously there's a fair bit of breathing room, but if it's raining, then you need to pull that one all the way up, like that, and zip it up on both sides, Velcro it down on the top. That leaves you only one area of ventilation, which is the zip on this side here, which is pretty limited, so you're not going to get a lot of airflow coming in through there. It isn't freestanding, so unlike some of the others, you can just set them up, and the only thing you won't be able to set up is the storm flaps. This one here, we had to peg in, and as you can see from the video, I had a lot of trouble trying to peg it in on this ground, and without some rocks to tie it off, or some tree stumps or something like that, if you're relying solely on the pegs, you're probably gonna have a rough time. The last one is the canvas quality. So you'll notice this with any of the good quality swags. This one's been packed up for a while. It's got quite thin canvas and it has leaked in the past. Again, this is trying to keep it lightweight. But unfortunately, some of the negatives of that are that obviously the canvas crinkles, it gets damaged easier, and it just doesn't have that kind of durability that the other ones do. So this next one here is the Darche Dusk to Dawn. It's 215 centimeters by 1100 centimeters in width and then 800 centimeters high. The swag is about $400 and you can get them from BCF, Tent World, anywhere that stocks Darche products. It is 14.3 kilograms and it has a 70 millimeter high density foam mattress. It is a single person swag, however you could probably squeeze 2 people in if you really like each other. All right, moving on to some of the features. Unique to this one, it has a disconnect pole. They actually come off completely instead of being held together by that wire. It's got 2 large open areas on either side, and then 2 really large storm flaps on either end, which go almost all the way down to the bottom. All right, so moving on to some pros and cons for this one. The pack-up size for this is really good. It is still quite a large swag once set up, but it does reduce down to quite a decent size. Setup speed, out of all of these swags here today, it was the quickest to be set up. Maybe Chris is just better at setting up than I am though. Accessibility and ventilation. Obviously on a hot day like today, it's great to be able to open up all these sides and then open up the ends as well. You've then got accessibility to sneak in through this side and then also either side completely. Obviously the drawback with that though is the accessibility when raining. You do have to open these sides up pretty much to get in smoothly. You can come in from this side, but it does sit quite low and you'll have to sneak in. One thing that is awesome about the Darche swags are that they come with really large bags, so even if you do a bit of a dodgy roll up, you've got plenty of space to fit the swag inside, and even when you've got your bedding in there as well, you'll be able to still get this thing rolled up. The cons, the straps are a little bit tight, so if you've got pillows in there or thick sleeping bags, you do run out of a bit of cord, but it's not a massive drawback. And then probably the only negative for this is that it does sit at 800 mils, therefore you cannot sit up in this happily, and it does restrict things like getting changed inside it. So you've probably seen these ones around plenty. This is the Big Daddy Deluxe from Kings. It's 215 centimeters by 155 by 96 centimeters. It's got a 7 centimeter high density foam mattress as well. So this swag comes in at 14 kilos. It sleeps 2 people, and it's going for about $149 depending on the Kings daily deals. So going on to some of the features, it's got storm flaps on either side. They're not as big as the Darche ones, but they're still reasonably sizable. It's got a lot of clips to keep tension on the ends. It's got a single pole through the center with 3 clip-up points. It's got large ventilation, much like the Dusk to Dawn on the side. And then on the ends, it's got large areas for ventilation with lots of breathing room on there as well. So all the pros for the Kings Big Daddy Deluxe come down to the price that you pay for it. By no means is it the best swag, but it's definitely not bad for the price that you pay. So it's got exceptional value for money. It's still built quite sturdy. It's quite a robust design. The canvas quality isn't that bad at all. The mattress is quite comfortable, but for $149, you really can't go past that sort of value for money. So compared to the last one, it does sag in the center a little bit, and that's just due to the fact that it's a little bit wider. So it does start to sag towards the center. You can kind of fix that by really putting a lot of tension on it, and I have seen people attach Oki straps to the pole as well to sort of pull all this forward and keep the tension on either side. You can sit up in this swag, which is a really good thing. Not as much as you can in the Darche 1550, but it's definitely a step up from the 1100. So compared to the other ones, the straps are quite thin. That's a good and a bad thing. It makes it easy to sort of pull them undone at the end when you're packing it up, and it does fold down quite small. However, a negative to that is the bag is not very big, and if you've got your sleeping gear in here, especially pillows, you'll really struggle to get that zip done up. You need two people to, or one person to sort of pull the bag together, and then the other one to do the zip. So one of the negatives about the storm flaps are that they sit quite high, and in torrential rain, when you've got the sides all the way down and you're relying on this for your airflow, if the rain is coming in from a side, it has in the past actually come in through the canvas, but again, that's sort of in quite extreme weather conditions. I've been in this swag in the Victorian high country when it's been sub-zero, and it keeps everything very warm inside, especially with two people. So this one here is the Darche 1550 Plus. There is the Darche 1550. The Plus is this added compartment on the end here, and I'll explain why that's so good later. This swag comes in at 300 centimeters by 155 by 105, meaning that you can comfortably sit up in this swag compared to all the other ones. So this swag comes in at 21.6 kilos. It's got a 7 centimeter mattress, which is a high density foam, just like the other ones. Different to the other ones, this comes in at a much steeper price of $700. You can get this swag from Snowy's Outdoors, and then also you can buy them at Freddy's, and that is about it. I haven't seen them at other camping stores. They're not at Tent World or BCF or anything like that. Obviously you can order them online though. So this swag here is probably what I describe as a 2.5 sleeper. Easily two people in the main compartment here. On the end here, which is a separate compartment, you can access it from the inside. However, you can also zip up a fly screen. You could put either a small child or a dog in, which is why we bought this swag, which I'll get Cheddar to demonstrate. And you pop. Yeah. Here you go. It kind of works. So obviously the extra room is the biggest benefit to this swag here. That room is quite sizable. We've used it to put our camping gear in there, such as our sleeping bags and all that when we're using the space. Or we've also put our clothes bags in there as well when we haven't been having the dog. When we've got the dog, he obviously slides in there, and that's a nice little space for him to have, so he's not sleeping on top of us and dropping hair in the main compartment. So for ventilation, this is the best swag of all of them today. It's got ventilation the whole way around, and they've really put a lot of attention into the small details. Even so much so that you've got ventilation on these little corners here, allowing you to really get some good airflow going through. It's got good, strong storm flaps, and you can adjust how tight this is and how much it sort of sits or sags down with this strap here. The poles being a really rigid shape and having no flex in them always ensures that this swag remains extremely taut. Just like all Darche swags, the bag size is fantastic. You can easily fit this in with a bunch of pillows rolled up inside it, or just swacked on top of the swag at the end. With this swag, you're able to fully sit up inside, which is fantastic. So if you've got inclement weather, you can sit in there and play cards, and you're really not restricted for space. So to roll through a few cons, it is a really heavy swag, 21.6 kilos, and it's quite large when it's packed down. So when you're trying to get it up on the roof, like I used to on my 4-wheel drive, I really did struggle. And I will say it was probably the main reason that made me want to go and get a rooftop tent, because I was so sick of having to throw it up on the roof every morning and then get it down every afternoon. If you're doing this on your own, it is a bit of a pain to set up. You have to get the poles set up first and then slide the center one through. And if you don't have a second person, sometimes the poles will fall down and it can take a while. It was also the slowest to set up today, but obviously it also is the biggest, so that's kind of expected. And yes, this is a bit of a premium swag. It comes in at about $700. So it is a fair investment to fork out for a swag. At that point, you're pretty much breaching into the territory where you could get yourself a rooftop tent. So you've really got to weigh out what you would prefer. But I will say, for the same price, the swag is always going to have the comfier mattress than the rooftop tent will. So thanks guys for tuning into this video. I hope you've learned something from the swags that I got behind me. I've got a few of them and I've used them all, so it's good to see where the benefits lie for all of them. If you're looking for a good single swag and you've got no issues with space, something like the 1100s are great. They've got plenty of room for you and your gear. Obviously if you're a biker swag's going to be pretty much your only option. If you're going for a double swag, I will say that spending the money to get something quality is definitely beneficial. The Darche is a lot better than the Kings. However, that one there is quite literally a quarter of the price. So they've got benefits in different areas. Depends on what you're doing. If you're not concerned for space, I'd look for a good quality mattress, good quality canvas, and then find the features that are best suited for you. Thanks for tuning in to this episode.